The call came at 2:17 a.m. I was pruning the night-blooming jasmine under the security lights when the judge stumbled out of his mansion, barefoot, phone trembling in his hand. His son's voice cracked through the speaker, a scream, raw and high, echoing like metal tearing. Then the cartel's voice, flat, almost bored. Reverse the verdict, 24 hours, or we send him to you one limb at a time. The judge folded in on himself, sobbing. The sound disgusted me. I'd built bridges in deserts, blown bunkers in jungles, buried friends without markers. Men broke differently in front of me now, soft and wealthy, like wet clay. He held the phone out to me as though it burned. My hand closed over it slowly. I didn't look at him when I spoke. "Sir," I said quietly, "they made a grave mistake coming onto my grounds." And in that moment, before I'd even planned my next breath, I knew something was wrong, something beyond the boy, beyond the cartel. A tremor in the judge's eyes, a lie hiding behind the panic. I'd been his gardener for 4 years. His wife, Camille, watched me like a cat watches a dying bird. She lingered in the greenhouse, fingers grazing the orchids I raised. Always soft questions, always wine at odd hours. I'd never touched her, not because I hadn't imagined it, but because I knew my own discipline, the way soldiers know the weight of their rifles. Tonight, though, when the judge collapsed on the patio, she didn't appear frightened. She appeared rehearsed. Hand on his shoulder, eyes dry, lips pressed into something like sympathy. I stood behind them, phone still warm from the boy's screams, and saw the smallest flash of a smile slip across her mouth when the judge wasn't looking. Not joy, anticipation. That was the first spark, the faint stink of a setup. My instincts, the same ones that had kept me alive under mortars and knives, stirred awake. I began cataloging details the way I used to mark ambush trails. The judge's schedule, Camille's calls, bank statements left on counters, her perfume lingering in the guest house I used as a tool shed. At night, I traced the cartel's threats back through burner numbers. I found a pattern of transfers, money moving from the judge's accounts to a shell corporation registered under a cousin of Camille's. The boy's abduction footage arrived at dawn, emailed to the judge. I slowed the video frame by frame. In the reflection of a van side mirror, Camille's cousin held the camera. The boy was bound but unharmed. His eyes darted to someone off-screen, someone familiar. I said nothing. I watered the roses, sharpened the shears, kept my breathing steady. Inside, I built a grid of her betrayals, slot by slot. At night, when she tried to hover near me, I let her. I answered in single syllables. My silence became my camouflage. By the third day, the DNA test confirmed what the bank transfers had already whispered. The boy wasn't the judge's son. He was mine. Camille had orchestrated the entire abduction to force the judge to withdraw his verdict, cash out, and disappear, leaving her and their son in control of the money. She hadn't counted on me still being alive in the shadows, pruning hedges, listening. I waited until midnight. In the kitchen, she poured herself a drink, silk robe clinging to her like a flag of surrender. I placed the DNA results and the bank transfer printouts on the counter between us. She glanced down, then up, smile cracking, mascara bleeding. "You don't understand," she whispered. I did. I understood everything. I handed her my phone. A live stream played, her cousin in a warehouse, zip-tied, sobbing. Behind him, my old Legion comrade, a man who owed me his life, stood silent. Her breath caught. "What did you—" "I didn't kill anyone," I said. "Not yet." I pressed another button. The judge appeared on the screen. He'd been watching everything from his study upstairs. His face was pale but calm now, like a man freed from anesthesia. "Tell him," I said softly to her. "Tell him whose child it is. Tell him whose plan this was." Her lips trembled. She tried, but the words snagged in her throat. The judge stared, waiting, while I stood between them, a wall of quiet steel. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I simply watched her disintegrate under the weight of her own scheme. At dawn, the boy stood at the edge of the garden, eyes wide. He didn't understand yet, but he would. I knelt, tied his shoelaces, and said nothing. The judge signed over guardianship without a fight. He walked back into his house and closed the door. Camille left with nothing but her robe and her broken plans. I stayed in the garden, clipping dead heads off the roses, feeling the tremor in my hands finally ease. Years of discipline had brought me to this single surgical act, not a gunshot, not a blow, but a clean cut of truth. I didn't follow her. I didn't look back at the house. I only thought of the boy's scream on the phone, the way it had split the night, and how, in that sound, I'd heard my own life cracking open, letting daylight in. By noon, the garden smelled of iron and jasmine. I wiped my hands on the earth, stood, and whispered to no one. The mistake was thinking I'd forgotten who I used to be. Then I walked away, leaving the flowers to bloom over the ruins of their lies.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. Subscribe now to Cheating Stories Insight World for more amazing stories.